Right, so show you how I acrylic this wall here. I primed it previously and then got the top coat applied and finished off. I'll get you a couple of clips, probably up on that peak. Might have been the best place to go. I'll show you it up close here, what it looks like finished. So it is like a fine, sort of fine pimple on it. I think you can get different grades of the grit in it. But yeah, I'll get cracking on here and show you how we got this finished. So just going to cut in along up here and just roll it all on. This stuff tends to spread pretty well actually.
Your first preparation job will be to prime all the walls. That's what I'm doing here. Just basically does look like paint, but very important when your render's all cured and dried out that you prime them up in preparation for the acrylic render.
Just like plastering, make sure you get down below this bar so that's stretching coming up there.
Get everything covered. You don't want to be leaving any wee patches. Also, when you're rolling it, you can see that it's covering very well, and that there's no holes or anything. The roller's actually catching everything, especially for this being a cheap roller. That's good. It's not a big fluffy headed roller. It's just a wee flat one, as this acrylic will follow all the imperfections as well. So you want to make sure everything on your render is flat. But again, this primer should slow things down from setting.
You don't want to have any big drips on the wall, so they don't affect anything. A better roller would be good, but it's probably just really a throwaway roller at the minute. But yeah, you don't want to have too many big smears, big drips, like so. You want to just make sure they're nice and flat, guys. Otherwise, you might see that when you come to actually finish up the acrylic. We look at the actual primer itself there too. The make of it, FASA.
You want to let your primer cure for at least 24 hours, if not a little bit longer. But I want to run through all the tools you're going to need now to apply your acrylic render. And just a quick run through. So you're going to want to have a hawking trowel, and I suggest a really sharp trowel. These plastic trowels for finishing. Have a bucket scoop and just a wee cat tongue trowel there, which is handy for getting awkward areas. And then again, a bucket scoop for lifting it out of the bucket. And then you're going to want some buckets, maybe empty buckets that are clean, some brushes and cloths to wash things down, maybe a wee scraper. And yeah, just you can finish it with the steel trowel, but I do prefer the plastic ones. They're a bit quicker and lighter on the arm. And you obviously, guys, to stir the stuff up, you don't need a drill, but a battery powered drill would be very handy, mixing them on the stations where you're going to be plastering. So once you have all the buckets mixed up that you're going to need, I would recommend leaving yourself an extra bucket, maybe two, just as backups. But once you have it all mixed, that's you're ready to apply. So when you're applying this acrylic render, guys, or silicone render, thin coat render, whatever you want to call it, I just stuck with the acrylic because that was the thing that was on the bucket the first time I came across this stuff. But it does also say silicone on the bucket as well. But once you're applying it, so you want to always keep a live wet edge. And what that means, similar to dry dash, it just means that you'll always want to have a fresher bit on as you're finishing, otherwise it will joint and dry up very quickly. The stuff tends to tighten, not so much set hard quickly, but it does tighten quickly, especially because we're putting it on so thin. It's very expensive render, so you want to try and go as thin as possible, but also the thinner you go, the quicker you can finish it. and that is the instructions as well, guys. You do have to go thin. If you go too heavy, all you'll find is you're doing is it might set to the wall and the surface will set, but the middle, you'll have it'll not really cure, and it'll take much longer to cure. And in this type of weather, rain and stuff, that's going to be a real bad job. So thinner the better. So bear that in mind when I'm saying about keeping a wet live joint. So you're always growing out. So I'm starting up here at the peak. That is the handiest place, but it's obviously the smart place to start the top, so you're not dripping the wall below. It's sort of a bit obvious as well, but also what we've done, we've cleaned this scaffold absolutely spotless, as we don't want nothing to fall off and drip onto the wall, any bits of cement or stones to stick to this around there. So sort of bear them things in mind when you're doing colour coats, guys, that things need to be spotless. The drill needed to be spotless before we mix the stuff up. The bucket scoops all scraped down spotless, the trowels, the hawks, everything scraped down spotless. Now if something was to drip on the wall, just pick it off and flick it off as you go. And back to the live joint here, you'll notice that I am going as quick as possible, and that the reason for that is you do have to go fast with this stuff. You don't want to get ahead of you want to be on top of it. And my idea is I'm going to put an area on, then I'm going to finish it, then I'm going to make that joint bigger, similar to dry dash. If you watch me doing any dry dash videos, you'll see even on small patches sometimes I'll lay on a top half and then finish it and then get my joint wet again, basically by recoating fresher stuff in. Was a wee bit of an awkward bit up to these tiles, was the tiles were in and out. Some weren't quite as straight as the other ones, and I didn't want to mess about with them as a roofer, so we're just plastering up just slightly under them, which is probably best. But you can see that I'm already on the finishing stage here, and all you have to do is pat it down, and your best to keep cleaning your plastic trowel as you go. That'll give you the best finish possible, guys. If you leave the stuff on it, you'll find it leaves these splickers of wet acrylic render on it, and it doesn't look so nice, and you'll find you have to rub them again, and it just keeps coming out. So as you see, look, the stuff coming off the back of the trowel, very handily. And just a wee tip, just something picked up over the years doing it, and I do think this render's lovely. Possibly one of the nicest exterior finishes there is out, in my opinion anyway. But each to their own. I know there's the Malacouche finish and stuff as well. But yeah, let me know your thoughts, guys. Definitely gotta move fast when applying. Gotta finish it properly and nice. You can't. There's no second chances with it. You need to finish it as you go. If the stuff sets, you're not going to be able to rub it. It's going to tear and it's going to separate. The same with the joints. If you let them joints get too dry and then you come up to coat to them, it's not going to look very nice. It's going to look like a bad job, and possibly you'll need to coat the whole wall all over again to rectify it. So you don't want to be doing that. Again, you don't want to be rushing too much. That's why I say try and leave all your buckets mixed and ready on the scaffold or beside the wall where you're going to do each meter that you're doing. You sort of know what you're going to cover. So I think I have all the stages and tools basically covered. Can't think I've missed too much here. If I have, let me know, guys. Again, you might want to cover up your windows and frames and things, but I just choose to wash them as I go. And this one definitely needed a really good scrub. The other thing is you might notice is that the wall to just past that scaffold, that's already done. So, and the reveals were already done. I don't mind doing it where you put the reveals on after, as long as it's not too dry on the front edge. But I certainly wouldn't want to be doing a wet corner unless, again, it's something very, very small. But anything big and awkward, doing a wet corner, it's going to be very, very difficult. And the fact that it's, you know, you could potentially damage the other side and not be able to repair it, and that won't be good. So taking it bit by bit, it probably is the best way to go on a bigger job. Like I said in the previous video, the rendering video, just sort of, you know, sometimes you have to take it section by section, and not look at the whole job all one day. Otherwise, you know, you're just gonna mentally fatigue yourself. Just sort of break it down day by day, what you're gonna do, you know, maybe plan it out that way, so that, you know, you just sort of know what you have to get done each day and what you have to get covered. But again, like I said, you can cover quite a big area with this pretty quickly, get it finished pretty quickly, but you're going to be very tired. Your arm's going to be sore, and you're not going to be fit to want to keep doing massive walls with this stuff. It's, you know, once you start, you just have to keep going. So it is quite draining. Might look like you've got loads done, but you know, really you should only do a certain amount and then just call it a day. You might want to push on, do more. That's brilliant too. But like I say, you know, if you don't overdo it one day, you'll be able to work the next day too. But if you do overdo it one day, you might be off a couple of days with a sore shoulder or elbow. So you don't want to be doing that. Again, I've used many types of acrylic. I'm calling this one FASA from O'Neill Tools Supplies, or O'Neill plastering supplies, basically. There's also Weber and there's K-Rand. I think there's another make. I can't remember the name of that one. I know when I first sort of started plastering, even the likes of the Manacouche, I think the first one we started was called Decoran, but I think then that changed to K-Rand. I could be wrong, but it was a long time ago, so I can't remember it exactly. But yeah, this one is pretty nice to use. It does say on it that you can wet it up when you mix it, but I prefer not to mess with it and just stir it up and get it used. You can see this wall is an absolute nightmare with scaffold bars, and just trying to feed some stuff up as high as possible just to get up onto that soffit covered. Would have been handy if the soffit was tight, but this way is probably better, more beneficial for the building, as it lets airflow up into the timbers so that they can breathe and it won't sweat. Funny enough, when we're talking about air, we may as well talk about this product as well. It does actually say on these buckets that it's permeable, which to me means that it doesn't let water in, but it lets the air move in and out so that it can't trap moisture in behind. So, you know, that to me it does seem superior to just normal render and to the Manacouche finishes, the scratched off finishes. It seems far superior to them. Even it looks better. The fact that, you know, if the wall's going to crack, that this should move with it. And on that note as well, guys, I will be doing a test on top of painted render. Flaky painted render, better still. It's going to be really flaky. It's going to need scraped down, it's going to need primed, and then I'm going to acrylic that. And maybe, I don't know when I'm going to upload that video, when I'm going to do that and upload that video and get it all edited up. Probably down the line, but I have been asked that many times, can you go over painted render? And the question has always been, can you? Because I didn't know, because I had never tested it. But I have tested ASBR in my mix and on a wall over painted render, and it actually worked very well. I'll show you that we result down the line as well. Also, I've used ASBR render over a smooth bit of wall and scratched over it, and still so far so good with that. So I do plan on making more of them types of tests down the line, so that, you know, just so we all know. And if we all know, then, you know, it gives us more tools in a box to complete jobs. And again, it just gives me, you know, personally would rather start fresh from block and stuff and move my way up. But the fact that some painted render, is solid, and it would be a nightmare to tip off. And I think people get sick of paying to paint buildings over and over and over again, where the likes of this acrylic render, it might be expensive, but it's only expensive once, and then it's technically decoration free. You don't need to paint it again, and you can choose whatever colour you want. I think when we build our house, we definitely will be using this on the outside, and I think you really will enjoy that. Again, that's maybe 4 years down the line before I can upload any plastering of the house, as the blocks aren't built yet. But down the line, I think you'll be very impressed with the creativity that I have in my mind, and that I'm going to offload onto that house with acrylic and with render and with plaster mouldings and cornices. I think you'll like some of the stuff I'm going to do a wee bit different. But yeah, let me know what you thought of this one, guys, and hopefully I will get that test uploaded ASAP. If anybody's interested or wants to ask any more questions, just whack away in the comments box.